The 20th century saw the rise of ecological science and the related study of nature as composed of interacting natural systems. But the case for preserving systems, such as rivers and forests, had to await the publication of Aldo Leopold's A Sand County Almanac, 1949. Leopold advocated extending ethics to encompass ecosystems, but philosophers and ethicists, Leopold was neither of these, remained unimpressed. What may have served to change the atmosphere was Rachel Carson's work Silent Spring, 1962, with its disclosure that pesticides such as DDT, dichlorodiphenyl trichloroethane, used in Europe, were now to be found in the flesh of Antarctic penguins. Another factor was the spectacle of defoliation used by American forces during the American intervention in Vietnam, 1961 to 1975, with its implicit attempt to embark on biological warfare and to sequestrate or even eradicate the natural world of central Indochina. The new awareness of the unexpected side effects of human impacts on the environment and how human interaction can imperil whole species and ecosystems emboldened ethicists to redirect their focus to environmental issues. The emergence of environmental ethics. Philosophical ethics had for some decades held back, at least in the Anglo-Saxon world, from reflection on practical issues, focusing instead on the analysis and the meaning of concepts. But from the 1960s, new issues in medicine, such as experimentation on human subjects and the requirements of informed consent, brought a new lease of life to the ancient subdiscipline of medical ethics, and the spread of nuclear weapons rekindled reflection on the ethics of war. The stage was thus set for the emergence in the early 1970s of environmental philosophy and ethics, and related attempts to apply philosophy to environmental concepts and problems. Up to the start of the 20th century, philosophy had always been understood as applicable to practical issues. Think of the political philosophy of Plato, Aristotle, Spinoza, Locke, and Kant. The various branches of applied philosophy now set about rescuing this long-standing tradition and bringing it back to life and vigor. At a World Congress of Philosophy held in Bulgaria in 1973, Richard Routley, later Sylvan, an Australian philosopher, gave an address entitled, "Is There Need for a New and Environmental Ethic?" His answer to this question was emphatically affirmative. He took the traditional Western view to be that only human interests matter, and that we humans may treat nature as we please. He rejected this view on the basis of thought experiments. For example, if the last man, a survivor of a nuclear holocaust, lays about him, eliminating as far as he can every remaining living being, animal or vegetable, what he does would be permissible for the traditional view. But in most people's intuitive judgment, his action is to be condemned as wrong. Such thought experiments, several were presented, disclose, Routley argued, that there is a growing environmental ethic at odds with the traditional view, and one which better responds to the assaults of human beings on the natural world. We should thus reject the human interests-only stance, soon to be called anthropocentrism, and adopt a stance for which other living creatures matter as well. One widespread response to Routley's thought experiments is that they concern such extreme and exceptional circumstances that people's intuitive judgments about them cease to be reliable, let alone indicative of the principles that we need. Critics suggested that, when judging the deeds of the last man, we inadvertently smuggle back into the scenario assumptions that fit more normal cases. We assume, they say, that other people or future people will somehow suffer from his behavior, even though Routley's scenario was devised specifically to exclude all this. Yet Routley could reply that he needs to supply a scenario of this kind to allow us to make judgments about a case where there are no remaining human interests. The last man, we may imagine, is shortly going to die himself, and where the only interests at stake are those of non-human animals and plants. Besides, he could insist that even in